Welcome to Rat Salad Review. Today I'm joined by Jimmy Taft from the band Atomic Kings. Hello, Jimmy. How are you today?
Hey, how is it going?
It's going good. It's going good. How is it in Phoenix, Arizona? I haven't been there. Never been there.
You've never been here.
Not
Oh,
yet.
do yourself a favor, but don't
Stay
come
away.
during the summer, man. Don't come during the summer. Um, the stories you've heard about it getting to 115 degrees are true.
But I heard
Uh,
it's a dry heat, though. I mean,
well, listen, where are you?
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is a dry heat. And I'm originally from the East Coast as well, from Virginia Beach.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and I will take 110 degrees with 5% humidity over 90 degrees with 85% humidity any day of the week. But right now it's a good time of year. We're coming into kind of, like everybody, I guess, spring.
Yeah.
Ours tends to be a touch warmer than probably where you are.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
But uh, but yeah, I mean today I think it's supposed to be like 80 degrees, 82, something like that. So beautiful day.
Not too bad. Not too bad. The weather's been crazy here too. It's just one. Yesterday was like 70. Today was like in the mid 60s, and then tomorrow's supposed to be 50 and raining and just crazy. But it's springtime, so that's what happens. So
Right? New York
yeah,
weather.
that's
New
it.
York
That's
weather.
it.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about the Atomic Kings.
All
And
right.
you're a drummer. I'm a drummer as well.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right. Brethren.
What kind of drum kit do you play with?
Uh Noble and Cooley.
I've never heard of that.
Wow. You're
Never, wow,
kidding.
I'm learning a lot of stuff today.
No, all good. They are actually the oldest drum manufacturer in the States. In fact,
Really?
they made the marching snare drums for the Civil War.
Oh, okay. All right.
Um, it's based out of Massachusetts.
Okay.
They've been in the same plant for all of those years.
Wow.
Um, wonderful, wonderful drums. I've never played anything that comes even remotely close to the quality and just they sound just amazing.
Yeah. What made
So
you go to that kit?
I've had them make me two kits.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they've got a couple of different series. My first one was their CD Maples, and then I had another kit that I had them make for me more specific for the Atomic Kings, and it's called their Horizon series. It's unique.
Yeah. What led you to use that brand?
I'd heard about them for ever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and was never quite in my price range, to be
Really?
honest.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was rehearsing with a band here locally in this. They had kind of like a big warehouse type of rehearsal spot, and they had this one area kind of curtained off, and had to go to the restroom, and I see a bunch of drum cases back there that weren't mine, and so I thought, is there a story here? So I asked. I said, hey, what's with the drum cases? And they said, oh, it's our sound guy. He wants to sell them. I said, well, what are they? And they said, I don't know, Cooley something or others. And I said, whoa, stop the presses. Noble and Cooley by chance? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that sounds it. And I said, guys, I hate to ask, but can we take a few minutes? I'd like to uncase these. I'd like to see what they are. So, went through that whole process, and I said, okay, I'm going to have to ask for a little bit longer of a delay in rehearsal. They're like, what's up? And I said, I need to talk to this guy right now. Has he put them on the market? And they said, no. Do you guys know what he wants? Oh, he just wants like a couple of grand. And I'm like, okay, stop the presses. I need to call him right now. So I got him on the phone, and he said, yeah. He goes, I just decided that it's not for me, And it took him. I think the wait time for his order was somewhere between 6 and 8 months.
Wow.
I'm like, why in the hell would you have gone through all of that just to
Right.
decide, yeah, maybe, why didn't you just get a kind of a more of a starter kit?
Right. Right. Yeah.
But he had a lot of money and it was no big deal to him. And so he said, yeah, I'm letting the whole thing go. Hardware, symbols, I'd let you have the cases, 2 grand.
Oh my God.
Consider them sold.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
how I was able to come across the first kit,
Yeah.
and I've just never looked back.
Wow, really cool. Ken has joined us. Let me let him in
Oh,
here.
nice.
Yeah. But wow, really, really cool. Good deal too. How many pieces was the kit?
It was a six piece.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
It's a good size kit for that.
yeah. And I don't even actually use it as a six piece. I play it as a five. I do one up and two down, with
Okay.
a
Yeah.
kick. That's kind of been my go-to setup for forever.
Wow. Really cool. Really
Ken.
cool. Ken, welcome to the show. Kid
Oh boy.
Ken not hear us. Ken's gonna have to make me edit the show.
Oh no.
Oh, well, he gets his voice on. Symbols. What kind of symbols are you using?
Peisty signatures.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Always
And
been a Peisty man.
yeah, I use Sabian. I started off with Zildjian, and then I went to Sabian, and then I wanted to get to those, but I don't want to spend more money. It's just everything just gets more and more expensive.
Oh, ain't it the truth? It's
Yeah.
well, everything nowadays is more expensive, but
Uh,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
yeah.
I just that was another thing. It's kind of like with the drum kit, I once I heard them, I was just like, oh God,
Hmm.
that's a sound I'm looking for. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
never looked back from that point either.
Were you able to get any sponsorship from the drum company at all, or
You know what? I've never tried.
no? Okay.
No, and it's somewhat embarrassing. I'm not even sure how to go about doing all of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean it's so yeah, no, haven't done that.
Well, maybe just contact them somehow. Ken, can we hear you yet, or can you hear us? Apparently not.
Oh my goodness.
All right, one more drum question. Drumsticks. Which drumsticks do you use?
Vader 5B nylon
Oh,
tip.
okay, Vader. All right, yeah, those are good sticks. I bought some
Yeah.
sticks on Amazon. I thought they were Verk Fit sticks, and I had them for about maybe a couple weeks, and they just split and broke. I don't know if these sticks are just they're not making them as well as they used to, or what. Like,
I tell you, I used to be a Vic Firth guy. And I actually really liked their sticks and played them for years, but uh, I don't know if they changed their glue or whatever on the nylon tip. Um, they wouldn't
oh, they
last
just
me.
come right off.
It wouldn't last me a set.
Right.
So a friend of mine who ran the drum department at a God, what's that guitar center
Mm.
several years ago turned me on to Vader. And it turns out, if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but I think he told me that the guy who started that company actually was one of the guys that was at Vic
Mm.
for years and decided that he saw what was happening and decided to kind of do his own thing.
Mm.
And they are just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I might
Never
have.
had a problem with the tips or anything. I'm a little bit heavier handed, so I'll go through, I don't know, maybe a couple of pair a night, depending on how long the gig is. But I do a lot of rim shots and things of that nature. But the tips, they've just it's never been an issue. So
Oh, well, that's good to know because, like you said, when I had that Vic first stick, it maybe a couple, like you said, maybe even like the first time I started playing it, just all of a sudden just fell off. I'm like, really?
the
These sticks
tip,
are
you play the
solid.
nylons as well?
Yeah, I used to play them too, and then I just stopped because every pair I bought, they would just fly right off. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is like a
that's
waste of
so
money.
irritating,
Yeah,
especially if you I mean I use those nylon tips because the ping on the ride and the hats remain
exactly.
consistent
Yeah,
as wood tips tend to break down a little bit,
yeah.
after a little bit of use.
And then they
So
start sounding dull and they lose that sound. So it's
exactly.
that tip
So
really makes a difference. But
yeah, big time. And
now
on
that
the
I
attack of the heads as well.
Yeah, exactly. But now that I know that those other sticks Vader, I'll go check those out.
Yeah, you ought to check them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too. I've seen them. I know what they are. I definitely know what they are.
Yeah. Ken, are
Can
you with us now?
we were supposed to do this at 7 and it's late now, so have a good night, everybody. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
those those stupid technically unadvantaged singers.
They make it well.
Yeah.
They make this stuff so difficult. It's ridiculous. It should just be
Well,
just go on and just be. There should be no fussing with it.
Well,
well,
I'm,
it's
using
probably
a
weird
laptop made
because
it
I'm on
easy.
a cell phone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's actually probably true because a lot of people that use their cell phone have problems. But I don't
but
know.
hi, Wayne.
Hello, Ken. Welcome to the
Oh,
show.
thank you. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, nice to see you could join us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was just talking to Jimmy about his drums and stuff like that, and you're the vocalist for the band. Tell
Correct.
me a little bit about you becoming a vocalist. What made you want to be a vocalist and stuff like that.
Really back in high school, I had some friends that started a band, and at that time, I was the only one that drove, really. So I would give these guys a ride to their rehearsals, and then I would sit there till they were all done. And they never did have a singer. And about the fifth time of doing that, one of the guys said, "Hey, man, why don't you stick this microphone in one of those guitar amps over there and at least sing if you're going to come?"
Nah.
So I did, and and I was always into some of the great singers of the you know '70s, and so I kind of jumped in there and I caught the bug, and here I am.
You've been a singer ever since.
Yeah. Well, we use those terms loosely, but
I'm glad you said that.
You're not too bad. I listened to the album. You actually do a very good
not
job.
too
And
bad.
even Jimmy,
Thank you.
you're an okay drummer. I mean, everything sounds good on this album. So
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
no, everything it's really good. And in the promo here it says 70s inspired rock band or whatever. And I do hear a lot of the 70s in there. What bands are you guys like really interested? Like from the 70s. Like what are the bands that like got you started into listening to music?
Oh, well, for me, probably starts with Kiss,
I can definitely. I was hoping you were going to say that because first song right off the bat, I hear Kiss.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow, really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
It is. Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I had the chance to go see them in concert, and it was funny because I was an aspiring guitar player at the time,
Oh, really? All right.
and
It's funny because I started out as a guitar player. We're separated at birthday.
boy, yeah, what's happening here?
Which is
Um,
funny. Which is funny because the Van Halens all started off as drummers.
yeah, right, right.
Yep.
Yeah, so that when I was at that show, I mean, that very night, I'm sitting there just my mind is blown, and I'm thinking, okay, I that's what I want to do. I want to be a drummer. So it kind of started for me with those guys, and then my brother introduced me to a lot of other stuff. I remember when the first Van Halen record came out, he brought it home and he was saying, "You wait till you hear this."
Mm,
And I was just like, "What is
right.
this?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so it
absolutely.
just kind of branched out from there. I started getting into all kinds of different stuff. Zeppelin, and I went through a massive Rush phase and um, uh, Deep Purple. Just absolutely love those guys. Ian Pace, what a monster.
Mm,
So that's kind of where it started for me, and then just kind of, like I said, kind of progressed through a lot of the great bands from the time, Bad Company.
mm,
I remember being turned on to those guys. That first record was another one that just made my head spin. I'm like, wow, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of really got me in it, and you know, and nothing, not to take away from any other genre or even some of the rock that's happening today. Just it's never I've never been able to get away from it.
Yeah.
I love it, and I just
It's because I think it's because it's maybe like the most real era sounding of music. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
yeah. I mean, you had to
Oh,
know
everything
what
after
you
that's
were
kind
yeah.
of
doing. You had
fake.
to be able to play. I
Right.
mean, and there were singers you know were fantastic, and they wrote real lyrics, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just a terrific time in music for me.
Yeah. Because I'm a huge Thin Lizzy fan.
Oh
and,
wow.
and I've
Yeah,
seen
me
it.
me as well.
Yeah, they're just such a great band, and it's a shame what happened to Phil and everything. And just because he would probably
Yeah.
still be around today doing music, even though he'd be
Probably
old,
so.
but
Probably so.
but
It's interesting that you mentioned them. That's one of our guitar player Ryan McKay. Absolutely loves
oh yeah, they're
big
just so
Yeah,
good. But like listening to them, and it's like, man, like, and compared to today's music, there are good bands out there, but it's just like
yeah.
that. It just sounds so real, and it just takes you to a different world. Not like it can't. Today's music just doesn't do that.
it doesn't. Especially like you said in the '70s, and to what Jimmy was talking about. If you listen to the music and the rhythms, the drums and the rhythm sections, and when they'd go into a solo, sometimes it was almost a whole nother song. And
Right,
songs just don't do that anymore. And
right.
I think that's why it was easy to stay latched on to the '70s style. They just there's very few that write like that, and it seems like it's kind of coming back a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Um, but yeah, Thin Lizzy, man, what a great band. And I agree probably with just about everyone Jimmy said. I was a big Jimmy Dewar fan, and Mott the Hoople and
Mm,
Oh,
Traffic, Free. As far as vocally, I love Paul Rogers and some of the going, and even some Janis and some of that stuff. So I think we're just kind of old souls. And
yeah.
when the four of us got together, that's just automatically what came out. That's
oh
what
yeah,
we're made of.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, when you guys got together, you didn't say, did you say you wanted to be like this type of band, or it just happened that way, or how did it?
No, it's what you hear is truly from a writing standpoint, and it's who we are. We didn't necessarily strive. Okay, let's make sure that we sound like a '70s, type of. It's just we wear our influences on our sleeve, essentially,
Yeah,
and so that's why it comes out in the music. It's just what
Yeah,
we tend to gravitate to. So if it's something that is so ingrained in you, it shouldn't be a real shocker that that's the type of stuff that you tend to write.
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, and everybody was kind of left to their own devices. If it was something that Ryan came up with, or Greg, or whatever, we all just kind of put our pieces on it, and whatever came out of each of us individually, was all kind of put into the soup. And that's there was never really a rule or a boundary or a set idea on what we were going to do.
Right.
And each song has its own voice, each song has its own mood,
Right.
which is another kind of a carryover a little bit from the '70s.
Yeah.
With I loved bands where you could listen to a full album and turn it back over and listen again. You never really got bored because it was a different song, every 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. That was
Oh,
another
yeah.
thing I noticed too is your album's under 40 minutes. It's like 39 something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So was that something conscious to do? Because back in the 70s and 80s, that's what they used to do. They would
Well,
all
well,
albums be 30 minutes or so. So
that we kind of did. That was a conscious effort, because obviously on a CD you can put an hour and a half probably on one, but
yeah.
I think when we made the album, we'd always had the idea that we were going to put it out on vinyl,
Hmm.
and it is now going to be released on vinyl soon, and we knew we were pushing that 40 minutes is about all you're going to get on vinyl. And back then they had cassettes as well, and so we knew we didn't want to lose songs if it got transferred to a different type of listening. So
Yeah. Yeah. You guys,
Yeah,
was that Jim?
well, no, I was going to say, 45 minutes on vinyl is absolutely maximum before you start to lose quality.
Right.
And to Ken's point, we always wanted to do a vinyl release, so we wanted to make sure that if we were going to do so, that it was going to maintain the sonic quality.
Right. Yeah. Are you guys big vinyl fans?
Oh, hell
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
I know
I'm
we
so
are now.
thrilled that it's coming back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very happy about the vinyl, and I know, Ryan's big on vinyl. he's got a big vinyl collection, and
Yes, it does.
I know Greg is big on vinyl as well. I think that's just a thing that that comes out of the era that we're from, and vinyl is making a huge comeback, and from what I've heard, a lot of the younger fans are now buying vinyl 2-to-1 over CDs. So that's a great thing to see come back.
I'm happy to see it. That's for sure.
Yeah, a band I actually just had on last week. They are releasing their album, and they're only releasing vinyl. But for now, they're only going to do the vinyl, and maybe they'll do a CD. But they want to stick with the vinyl and everything. But the one thing I don't like about the vinyl is the price.
Yeah. Well, there's that. But you know what? It's definitely more expensive. But
oh my god!
But it's a whole different it's a whole different listening situation. When you used to listen to music and you had the vinyl, you had to be in a position where you could sit there, put it on, and listen to it. You weren't driving, you weren't preoccupied, you were not focused on other things. So it was a whole different listening experience when you would put that vinyl on and you would sit there, whether you were messing around the house or whatever you were doing. But what you were doing is listening, and I think that's one of the things that got lost when music switched into some of the other forms. It got to where you could listen to music while you were doing so many other things, whether it was drive down the road in your car, whether it was, whatever it was. And so a lot of times it tend to make music a background instead of a foreground. So
exactly.
Vinyl to me, you were going to sit there and your intention is to sit there and listen to music, as opposed to music just being, what's going on around while you're doing something else. So, I'm all for vinyl coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we hope it stays that way, because I'd always see different things about that was kind of like fading away, and the CDs are coming back. But I don't think the vinyl's going to completely go away again. I think people like it that much now.
I agree
that it's going to stay, for
I sure hope so.
a good while. Yeah.
And
prices come down.
Yeah, that'd be nice. CDs are even, a lot of people have been really wanting vinyl from us, because so many of them, they don't even have CDs anymore. I mean, you buy, even if you buy a new car now, it's very rare that it even has a CD player in it. Now now you stick your USB port in and you take off that way. So, CDs have almost become a thing of the past.
Yeah, I know. I all those things behind me are CDs, so I'm crying inside a little
bit. I'm bawling inside. you could get your little Walkman and stick it on your hip and cruise down the street.
My records are over here, though. I got a big shelf. I started off with records right when they were just starting to come back and make this big comeback, and I wasn't going to do it because I got so many CDs. I got over 4,000 CDs, and I'm like, do I want to go to records? And I just started buying a couple records that most of the stuff I do have on CD anyway, but I just like to see some of the artwork. Like some of the older albums have different artwork in them than they did on the CD. So I would find a lot of those. And I built like a nice little crate, and I had about 100 records. And my wife's like, okay, now what are you going to do? Because it was full. So then I had to buy a whole big shelf, and now that whole big shelf is full. So I can't stop. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
It is. I got to stop.
Help, Wayne.
I think I do. I really do.
It's a good one to have. That's actually least expensive addiction you can have. So.
Exactly. I always tell people I could be doing drugs. I'm just buying music.
Yeah, right. For now.
Yeah. Well, so when I run out of room here, drugs will be a lot easier to keep it.
Nice.
They kind of go hand in hand, music.
They usually do. Yes,
you're gonna need both, Wayne.
I've stayed away. I've been clean. I don't drink and I don't do any drugs. So
Good
I don't know how I got away from
Good
that.
on you. Good on you.
Yeah. Have you guys done any drugs? What's the worst thing you guys have done?
None of us has ever done anything.
Really?
We're completely innocent.
Some things just we can't discuss in certain circles.
Of course, I'm only kidding.
It is. I'm sure all of us has tried everything, but it is a nice thing in that there is no drug or alcohol problems in Atomic Kings. We're very focused. I mean, we'll have a drink and do what we do when we get together. We're hanging out, but when we're doing music, that's what it is. So
You're all responsible.
We're fortunate not to have that problem.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Well, I think, when you're younger, you don't care about that stuff. You're just willy-nilly, doing whatever you want to do. You're on stage, and I played with bands that were, drinking before the show, and their set list was crap. They didn't know what they were missing things, and so they, you knew what they were doing before the show. So I don't think. I think maybe nowadays a lot of bands kind of got away from that a little bit. Do you think?
I think so.
I think that was one of the good things that didn't carry over from the 70s, probably. Back in the 70s, probably even the 80s, it was hard to find somebody that wasn't really messed up on something. And,
right.
It probably made for some pretty trippy music. I mean, if they were all straight in the 70s, we'd probably be missing a lot of our music. but I think the drugs, I think it's there. I think it's just changed. I think there's so many different things now. I couldn't even begin to tell you what they're called or what they do. And that, that's their generational thing,
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the band Atomic Kings. I was watching an interview with you guys from another show, and Ken, you weren't the original singer?
Yeah. Jimmy and Ryan and Greg were in a project prior to Atomic Kings.
Okay.
And the three of those did put out a great record, and they chose to move on from that. And Jimmy and I have been friends, and we're in a project together about 25 years ago. So Jimmy and I have always been very familiar with each other, and Jimmy sent me some tracks of what they were writing, and they were just right down my alley. So I joined the three of them, and that became Atomic Kings, and the album that we just put out is our debut album. So.
Oh. All right. What was the band you guys were in before? Did you record anything or?
Yeah, it was called Kings of Dust.
Right.
And it's me, Ryan, and Greg, and the singer's name was Michael Beck. Gosh, I don't remember exactly what year we put the record out, but
it was out in 2020. In fact, it got released just prior to COVID.
That's right.
Oh,
that's
okay.
right. In fact, the day that they made the announcement that there was a national pandemic, is the same day our record was released.
And the reason I know that, ironically enough, I actually sang on that record.
Yes.
Okay. Not knowing what was going to happen after that.
Right.
We did a remake of an old Beach Boys tune.
Yeah.
Help Me Rhonda.
Oh, okay.
And we called Ken in to do some vocal work on the outs for that. And how fortuitous. So here we are.
It's good when things work out like that,
Yeah.
Indeed.
So that came out in 2020, and this band started in 2021, I believe, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right around there, yeah.
Maybe towards the end of 21. We started getting together and started writing music, and boy, it just kind of just went from there, really. We didn't really have any plans. We didn't really have any idea of what exactly we were doing. We were just four guys that really had a really like-minded love of a certain kind of era of music, and really enjoyed what we were doing, and enjoyed the talent of each other. And it was really just a lot of fun to play with each other, and that led us to where we are now. So we're very fortunate and thankful for that.
Yeah. And you guys were doing this during the whole pandemic thing. So how did that work out?
You know what? We weren't really affected by that so much. When that started happening, I mean, it was still going on. But where we rehearsed was in this back part of a music store that Greg manages called Bizarre Guitar in Phoenix. And Ryan actually still works with Greg over there.
Yeah.
And so, we would wait for the store to close, and we would, start rehearsing and writing stuff back there then. So we weren't really, as far as the writing process, rehearsals and things like that, we weren't really too impacted by that.
It seems like there was a bit of a gap between Kings of Dust. In fact, Kings of Dust, I don't believe ever even played out live. I think
we did not.
I think you guys had just really made it to finishing that album, and then that was kind of the end of that. And then there was a bit of a gap between Kings of Dust and Atomic Kings, and in that gap, COVID kind of went by the wayside a little bit. So really, when the four of us started getting together and writing, the whole COVID mess was a little bit behind us. They certainly had dropped most of the restrictions and whatnot. So, we weren't really bound much by that.
That's good. That's good. And how did you guys get in touch with, well, not get in touch, but how did you know with Greg and everything? Were you friends back in the day when he was in Badlands, or?
Yeah. I was in a band when I first met Greg called Ragdoll.
Oh, okay.
And we were actually mixing our EP out at a place in LA called the Complex. And a couple of the guys in the band actually knew Greg pretty well as Jeff, the second drummer for Badlands, and told him that we were in town if they wanted to stop by to come in. So Jeff and Greg ended up coming down. It was kind of like a cool little family reunion, if you will, although it was still my first time meeting Greg and actually Jeff. And they ended up doing some backing vocals for us on the record. And then Greg and I started chatting. He asked me, he says, "Is that you playing drums?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Man, I really like what you do. Who knows? Maybe you and I'll do something together one day." And, well, he's, God, I don't know, 28 years later or so. He reaches out and asks me if I wanted to be a part of Kings of Dust. And that was my first opportunity to hear Ryan's guitar work. And Greg and I had actually gotten together before then. After Badlands, he played in a local band with me for a while. And then he kind of left that. So we had some time where we had actually played together, because he was in that outfit, I think, probably about a year or so. And so we had a chance to really get to know each other musically during that time. So when he asked me about Kings of Dust, I said, "Yeah, I'd be interested. Can I hear some stuff? And so I went down to the studio, and that was when I had a chance to hear Ryan McKay for the first time. And it was kind of like the first time I heard Van Halen. I'm listening to this guy play guitar, and I'm going, okay, that's not something that a lot of people are sounding like and playing like right now.
How can I steal that guy?
Right? And so I heard that, and again, like I said, Greg and I already had a fair shake of time playing together, so I knew what to expect from Greg. And I was just blown away by the material, and so right then and there, I'm like, oh yeah, count me in. So that's how I got together working with Greg and Ryan, was really, through that initial meeting and introduction to Ryan's playing.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
And Ken, what have you done before Atomic Kings?
Well, like I said, many years ago, Jimmy and I were in a project together, and then throughout the years, I'd done several different projects. I guess for about 5 years leading up to Atomic Kings, I was singing with a guy named Paul Gervitz, who is he's an older guy, is a big songwriter. Had done some stuff with some of the guys from the Beatles, and George Martin had taught him and produced his first couple albums. He was in the Baker Gervitz Army with Ginger Baker, and he'd reached out and was wanting to put together, a show where he was going to do some of his past stuff. And so I ended up with him for about 5 years, and we had put together a show, and then he actually started writing new material. And so we started doing some of that with a really nice guy, Adrian from Mike and the Mechanics. And so I was kind of doing that, and close to the tail end of that, when actually I had listened. Obviously, I was friends with Jimmy and Greg and them, and so I had heard their Kings of Dust album, and that's when I first heard Ryan's playing. And I remember thinking, man, I absolutely love Ryan's playing, and obviously, Jimmy and I are brothers, and Greg and I had done a little project where he was on bass and I was singing. So it was really kind of a thing where one thing led to another. And then when Kings of Dust dissolved, they were auditioning some guys, and Jimmy sent me some stuff, and so I went over and really just sang completely out of the blue, basically. But so that was the first time I'd met Ryan personally. I had known Ryan and knew of Ryan. He'd played with a lot of friends in Louis Prima Jr., A.D. Adams, and Mikey Bones, who were all super good friends of ours. And Louis Prima Jr. is a great guy, and I've known him for many, many years. And so I was very well aware of Ryan and his playing. So, when the opportunity came along, Greg had reached out, and at the time I wasn't aware that Jimmy was reaching out at the same time. And so one thing led to another, and that's where I ended up. So, that's kind of, along with a couple of projects locally here, that's what I was doing.
Very cool, very cool. You both gave Ryan such a huge praise. What is it about his playing that really, catches your ear?
He is,
he's
an old soul.
Really?
He's an
His
old soul.
versatility.
Yeah.
And Ryan's playing goes. I'm a big fan of the Jimmy Pages and that style of guitar playing. And when I first heard Ryan playing, it reminded me of that, and the versatility that he plays with, but also his experimentation. And there's so much more that goes into Ryan's playing than his playing itself. He's a very skilled player, but Ryan is a thinker. Ryan he's a great musician, and he's a great songwriter, and all those things together, is what I think makes Ryan stand out. At least for me, or somebody that's wanting to do a project like Atomic Kings, where we all had a very like-minded idea of what we wanted to do, and to do that, and to be the fans of what we all were, that required a Ryan. And Ryan McKay's don't come along every day, and so and he's a great friend, and he's just a brother, and there's just it takes a certain type of person to be in a successful band together, and he's all of that.
Oh, very cool, very cool. It's great to find another musician that feels that way about playing music, and brings what he brings to your band too, because it makes you guys.
And Jimmy as well. If somebody asked me about Jimmy, I would probably say exactly all those same exact things I just said.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not true. He's only saying that because I'm sitting here.
Yeah, he put it in the chat. I'm just lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy, make sure that check doesn't bounce, Jimmy.
Nice.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes. It's one thing to be in a band with somebody, but to be, you share a lot of emotions. People talk about being in a band is a lot like, being a brother or being a family member. And sometimes I feel like it even goes beyond that. I feel like as a bandmate, sometimes you really deal with situations and you get into some things that you really would never even deal with a family member.
Mhm.
So you really have to, you've really got to communicate not only physically but mentally, and and that's what makes all the great bands had that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now back to the album. Is there a song that you guys liked working on the most out of any of the songs on the album?
Mhm. You know,
Jimmy.
for me, as far as working on them, writing them, recording them, no, because they all. The thing I love about the stuff on the record is that if you listen from beginning to end, you go on a journey.
Yeah.
Some songs a journey within themselves.
Hmm.
Like Take My Hand, for instance, really takes you on quite a journey. And lyrically, Escape takes you on a pretty cool journey, not just musically, but lyrically as well.
Mm.
And so, as far as the writing process and recording and things of that nature, there's not one that sticks out for me like, boy, I sure enjoyed doing that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They all represented certain challenges and things that gave me a chance to say what I thought needed to be said in the pieces.
Mm.
So, which is another cool thing about writing with these guys. Everyone was so focused on ensuring that egos didn't come into play as it relates to your parts. Everyone was very focused on the song, the piece.
Mm.
And the parts that are put in these songs, it's just it was all like, yeah, this works for the piece. And that's where it began and ended for us, as far as the writing
Yeah,
process.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, but listening back to it, I mean, there are favorites, but it kind of changes. I might gravitate to Holding On one day,
Mm.
and then I'll go back and listen to Bloodline, and I'm just absolutely blown away by Ken's vocal on that song. And so it fluctuates for me.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, hard to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving needle.
Yeah, I know.
I would agree with that. The writing process was, it was a fun process, and this is a band, we would get together, every week. Sometimes we'd get together twice a week. And so, it was such a positive thing, in the writing process of it all. We would laugh, we would have fun. We would, a lot of the guys are, coming off of a day at work or coming off the stress of just everyday life. And so, it almost became a release a little bit. And so, we were able to put all that aside and put it out of our head, when we would all get together and write. And so just the writing process itself, some of those became pretty special moments.
Yeah.
And, some of the songs, probably reflect that as well. They're all very positive songs. There's not a lot of negativity or some of the things that people like to get into musically or lyrically nowadays. So
Yeah.
but it was a fun process writing it, and that'll never change probably. In the we're getting ready to begin writing on the next album, and I imagine it'll be the same.
Mm. All right. Ken, did you write most of the lyrics, or did you all write the lyrics, or how'd that work?
All
Uh,
of them.
it, yeah,
Ken wrote all of them.
All of them?
well, yes and no. Yes, I did write all the lyrics. There was some times when adjustments were made, or when a chorus, yeah, was coming along, and somebody would have a chorus idea, and would come up with a line or two, and sometimes I would take that and turn it into whatever it needed to work. So everyone had some input on a lot of things, but yeah, I probably wrote, I did write all the lyrics, but that's not to say that I would take credit for all the lyrics. And that's another great thing about this group is everybody, there wasn't a lot of arguing and fussing and fighting, and it was always exciting to come in and be, man, I can't wait to hear what Jimmy's going to put on that song, or man, I can't wait to hear what Ryan or Greg's going to come up with. So it was, it was really, it's really a great chemistry when it comes to that. It's a very enjoyable thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my band's the same way. Like we don't do like you got. We don't get into a room. We do everything we do is online, which is the way us younger guys do it now. Which I don't know.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, Wayne?
Well, I'm old too. I just mean like well, you're a little hard. You couldn't get the phone to come on Zoom, so I could imagine if you had to record from home. But that would like
he got you there.
Okay, there we go. Here we go.
But yeah, I like it actually working through the computer stuff, but I do miss getting into that room and going with your friends and then creating those songs.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the cool things for us during the recording process was we actually recorded the record live.
I was going to just come about that night. It sounds like it's recorded live. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was that was one of the things that was of paramount importance to us. It's hard to capture in a lot of ways that energy, that type of feel when you're recording a record. You're in these separate booths and you're wearing cans, and you're a lot of times you can't see each other, or you're simply overdubbing to already recorded components of a song. And it was.
Or are you glad you can't see each other?
Yeah, right. I feel bad for the guys having to look at me, for instance, but it is what it is. But it was really, really cool to be able to track the all of the rhythm parts live. And in fact, several of the songs on the record were done in a single take. Take My Hand, for instance, which you wouldn't think would have been done in a single take, especially with the time signature changes and things of that nature that went into play. But that was done all on the first take. Wow. Ryan and Greg were just like, no, that's it. We're keeping this.
That's it. Moving on. Leave it alone.
And there were probably, I'd say, it was probably at least 50% of them were done in a single take.
Wow.
And I think part of that was just being there live and being able to capture that energy of all the time that you had woodshedded, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Working these parts out. And so that was a lot of fun. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you could actually hear that on the record, because it's something in the record that actually stands out for me.
There's
energy and that feel that we were striving for was actually captured. So
yeah, definitely.
And you know what? It was a great. It was done at Danny Coker's studio there. I don't know if you're aware who Danny Coker is, and he has that special counting cars on TV up in Vegas, and he has a really nice studio. Yeah, he had a really nice studio up there that I think, Jimmy, right? Most of the tracks started in, and
that's where all of the drums, bass, and the guitar were tracked there, and it was a giant room, which is a really cool thing. Why we were able to get such a big drum sound was having that big room was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we moved some of the vocals, and Ryan went up, I think, a few times, and we did some stuff there at Jason Constantine's studio with our first label, Tonehouse Records, and we did some stuff there. And then really towards the end, we moved. Ryan may have done a few things here back in Phoenix, but for the most part, then they sent a lot of the stuff back, and we did. We added some backing vocals and some mellotron and a little bit of tambourine and stuff on some of the stuff here at Ryan's studio. So it was, but the heart of it was done, like Jimmy said, live, and the drum sound I know was extremely important to not just Jimmy, but I think I know Greg and Ryan were both very, very much wanting big drum sounds, and I think they certainly captured that. It's when I put the album on, I can really feel everything, but yet I can still distinguish individual parts if I want to.
Yeah. It's a very well mixed album. Sounds great with the live drums. And did you use a click track or anything?
No.
No.
Very cool.
No click. No, there's none of that. None of that stuff like you young whippersnappers use.
I hate the click track. I use it, but I hate it.
I've done a lot of sessions, with a click. I'm comfortable working with a click. I know it can be kind of let's just say it can be a pain in the ass to become more of a slave to the click.
Yeah.
You just really have to understand, making the click work for you and how you can move around within that constrained thing. We started tracking the first song, and that came up. Jason, who engineered the session, said, "Hey guys, do you want to use a click?" And Greg chimed in almost immediately. Says, "No, not if we don't have to." And Jason's response was, "Jimmy's meter, we don't need a click. If you guys are comfortable not having one, I'd prefer to record without it." And so you don't have to twist my arm.
Yeah, and we didn't really have plans to do a lot of a lot of the things that we require a click. I know we sent out to keep it simple, and we weren't going to do a lot of overdubs, and we weren't going to fly in a lot of things that really was going to require a click. But I'd love to hear some of your stuff, Wayne. Knowing that,
I don't know
how you guys do that.
I don't think you want to hear that. No. A lot of people like it. We're all over the place though, because we're so influenced by 70s bands, 80s bands, but we're also influenced by like thrash metal bands and some black metal stuff too, like that. But so we're kind of like all over the place. But we're not crazy all over the place. We make sense, but we make it make sense.
But that's great. I have a lot of Lionel Richie, Glenn Campbell. I have a lot of influences a lot of people would never realize either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the most part, Atomic Kings is a rock band, but we go through a lot of different things in some of the songs, and it allows us to draw from some of those things that's outside of the rock.
Right. Do you think that's just a musician thing? Because like a lot of my friends, just people in general, I noticed sometimes you just stick to one genre, but then when you meet a musician and you start talking about their musical influences and stuff like that, they start naming just all different types of genres and everything, and it's mostly musicians. I feel.
I think there's probably
there's that, but I also know a lot of musicians that are they are one road and that is it.
I know those people too. Yeah.
They're incredible musicians. Don't get me wrong; they're great players, but man, they are down to one style and that's it. They don't, they don't stray, they don't listen, and they don't really change. I mean, some friends of mine have played what they play for 15 years, and they can play me an idea right now, and it sounds exactly like the idea they played me 15 years ago. and and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, you know what? If we were all the same, our music would all be the same. And thank God, all music isn't the same.
Mm.
For me, I grew up when I was younger. Uh, my parents were listening to folk music and listening to older country music and the Beatles and that kind of thing. So I didn't get a choice on the radio. I didn't get to change the radio or the television set or anything. I listened to to what they were listening to, and
Yeah, I
that was
wish my
it.
son would learn that.
Yes. So
Yeah,
so
right.
and then as you move forward, you kind of start getting to what you like, and then that may change. And I'm always when I hear a great singer or a great song, I just like it and I become a fan of it. And it doesn't always matter to me what genre it is.
Mm.
It's either it's good or it's not. And so within, when, for instance, the middle section of Escape there, we've got that breakdown in there, and there's some slow parts in there. And, it allows you to completely switch moods
Hmm.
and be proficient in a whole different style. And, that comes in handy when you have a lot of influences, like Jimmy's Page, is kind of the classical piece, the acoustic, and that's Jimmy playing the guitar.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
recorded that at Ryan's place, and Ryan is a multi-instrumentalist. Greg plays drums, bass, guitar. So it's I think everybody's very widely influenced by a lot of different things, and so when we get together and do what we do, it's kind of nice to be able to draw from something different.
Yeah, definitely. And it keeps the music fresh too. Like with the
Yeah.
next album, you think you could add a couple more different things there? I mean, this first album, you got a lot of stuff going on in there as well. Like you said, there's some change. There was one song, I can't remember what the name of it was because I was listening to it while I was working. But yeah, he went into this whole other different section, like you mentioned earlier, about how the '70s bands did that too, and you guys did that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You went and changed that. So you're gonna add some newer stuff into the second album, you think?
You know what? The writing is going to take us where it takes us.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Some of the ideas uh, are things that we were already working on.
Okay.
Um, uh, that ended up being shelved for one reason or another. Newer ideas were coming into play. So we're actually going to revisit some of that stuff because there was some serious gems in a few of those. So, that being said, it'll be much like this first record. I mean, we started writing and it just kind of charted its own path. We'll kind of let that be the case again, I'm sure.
Very cool. Very cool. You guys got shows coming up?
No, not right now.
We don't have any on the books. There's talk of several shows, but right now I think we're focused on. We just had the release that just came out. I think it was on the 5th.
On the
Is that
5th,
right,
yep.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
And our label has just been amazing. Fire Rock and Tom and Michael, those guys have just been just amazing and really doing a lot of stuff. So we've kind of been focused on being wherever we need to be for that and for them. And then we just met last week and are going to start moving into the writing. And when we start writing, we try to kind of stay focused on that. If a show was to come along and we were somehow able to put it together where we could do it, I'm sure we would do it, but it would have to make sense. And
yeah, do you think a lot of bands are at that point right now because just the way shows are today?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of the bands that I'm aware of, they just love to go play.
Mm-hmm.
But we just love to write.
Yeah, I mean, right now for me, once the focus is in a certain place, then it tends to stay there, and we forge our way through that time, if you will. Um, so after we get the material written and selected for the next record, we get that behind us. That's when we'll probably really start to hammer away at getting back out and stretching our legs some. Right now, just kind of in the position that we are, far more focused on writing for the next record. We want to
All right, sorry, everything froze on me.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, so do I. It's very annoying. I don't know.
It's that wonderful technology. You need me to come over there, Wayne, and see
I think you've done enough
for you. Have him show you how it works.
Just push the screen, Wayne, and down at the bottom there'll be the unfreeze button.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. I don't get it. My bars are full. I don't know. It's this time of the night. I guess everybody starts using Zoom at the same time. Although I got another show coming up, so they're all probably wondering where I am.
What do you? I guess you guys are 3 hours ahead of.
I'm in New York,
us. So so
it's 8 o'clock here. So
okay, yeah.
But like you guys saying, my band's the same way. We already recorded our 4th album. We're not doing any shows. We recorded the first album. People keep asking us if we're going to play shows. We're just like, we'd love to, but what's the sense? Nobody knows who we are, and where are we going to play? Right. And if we get the albums out there and the music's out there, and somebody says, "Oh, come play this show, do this festival with us or something," if it's worth doing it, then we'll do it. But right now,
it would have to make sense. I mean, that's kind of to talk about where Ken was going with that. It would have to make a lot of sense, because despite some of the things that are happening now with the re-release of the record and us doing more press and doing things like your show, the fact remains that there's still a huge audience that don't really know who we are yet. Right. So that is, again, one of the reasons that we're doing as much as we are, working with the folks over at Fire Rock, doing a lot more press, trying to get that momentum built back up for the second record. And then we're hoping that as this thing continues to build, that it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
people will know who Atomic Kings are, and we'll go from there.
Very cool, very cool. Now, where can people go to buy the album? Because we want them to buy that record.
So anywhere, if you go to Target, Amazon, Walmart, towerrecords.com, all of them now have it. So
very cool.
That's one of the wonderful things about the relationship with Fire Rock, is that we now have worldwide distribution, whereas we didn't have that before. So that's another pretty exciting thing for us, because there actually is a fan base in several parts of the world that, up until April 5th anyway, they were unable to get their hands on the physical product. Shipping costs didn't allow it to really happen, because to ship a CD, just a CD to Australia, for instance, I think was somewhere between $35 and $40.
That's insane.
So now fans that are in Australia or the UK, Japan, we've got people in Finland that have been asking us, how can I get the record? Well, now they can, through any number of these online retailers. You simply go there and purchase it, and it'll be sent directly to you. So that was a huge thing for us to get in place with the guys over at Fire Rock.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And you guys got a website that people can check out, or
We do
Facebook?
not currently have a site.
No? Oh.
That is
I don't
something
even
that's
think it
in the
matters
works.
anymore, to be honest. But
Yeah, it's something that works right
we have
now.
the domain.
Yeah, right
okay.
now it's we're on Facebook and Instagram. Atomic Kings at either. So yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Well, guys, I wish you all the luck with your album and good luck with the second album. And hopefully it works out for you guys. You get to play some shows and sell some records and
Yes.
keep rocking
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for having us on. We really appreciate that. And send us a link so we can check out some of your stuff as well.
I definitely will. You guys both on? I saw you, Jim. You're on Facebook. Ken, are you on Facebook as well?
Yeah.
I am. Yes, I am.
All right. I will look you both up. I will send you a friend request and just hit accept.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you
All
so
Wayne,
much,
it was a
Wayne.
pleasure,
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
Pleasure too. And you guys, thank you very much for watching. And please subscribe to Rat Cell Review. Go to ratcellreview.com and check us out on freeworld.fm. All right. We will see you guys next week. Until then, bye-bye.